Again, what we're going to do today, we're going to take three-dimensional data, 3D scene object layers that are in ArcGIS Online, and we're going to plug them into the ArcGIS Maps SDK for Unity. We're going to follow this tutorial, but we're going to modify it a little bit along the way with our own data. And I think you'll find this will as a good walkthrough if you're new to using Unity. It'll also be a good introduction to starting to create things in Unity that use the C# API, which C# is the programming language of Unity. And this is the general workflow. We have our content from ArcGIS Pro that was put into ArcGIS Online, and the whole map and scene will be rendered in code and then written out into Unity. And so with that, I'm going to just open up this page right here and kind of follow along, use it to follow along, as well as my notes. So the first thing we need to do, also just for some a refresher, really, let's just go ahead and start to create a project. Oh, I should have mentioned, go ahead and download the stuff for today if you haven't already. This is going to be class 9B materials. What I'm doing, kind of like I did about a week ago, I'm just giving you the ArcGIS Maps SDK just so you don't have to download it yourself. And we are going to come back later and grab this this big long API key. Eventually, you should really get your own API key, but again, for just to save time and hassle, it's there for you. So I'm going to open up the folder. And I'm going to unzip this out. So class 9B materials, and inside of there, if you were here, I believe it was last Thursday, this is that tarball that has the SDK in it, and these are the slides if you wanted them just for your own reference to look at. But I have the PowerPoint open. Okay, so those are the materials you need. And so we'll follow this. So the very first thing we want to do, and we'll do this as a refresher, is let's just get a basic Unity project going here. And the way we're going to do that, I'll start over because I already had it open. We're going to open up the Unity Hub. So that's an app that you guys, we went over this last week. You should all have that. If you're watching this video and you don't have the Unity Hub, look for it online. And so we want to make sure we're going to do a new project. Just as a quick reminder, as of October 2022, when we're doing this class, we're using the long-term stable version 2021.3.x is what the ArcGIS Maps SDK for Unity is using. And we're going to use the high-definition render pipeline. If you have something like, just to show you, I'm not going to do it, but right below this, if you have something like this, like a download template, if you have that under your 3D HDRP, go ahead and download it. In my case, I've already did that, so I don't need to do that. And we'll just put in the project basics. I'm going to put my project, well, first I'm going to call it class 9B C scene for C# scene. And I'm going to put it actually right in the folder that I downloaded. So everything's kind of all right there, right? So again, 3D high definition render pipeline. I put it in the folder, a relatively short directory path where that the SDK tarball is. I'm going to go ahead and get create project. And this can take anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes. So I'll just pause the video recording. So while we're waiting and getting our coffee while the project loads, a note for anybody watching this video, either on YouTube or from RIT, try to create your project on the most local drive. So at RIT, we have the Z drive, which is out in the network. And anytime you do that, it's going to really slow everything down because you're going across the network, as opposed to me on my local machine. Actually, it looked like it's done here. Mine took about 2 minutes or so to create it. Yeah, so because I'm in C, here it is. It's a few seconds ago. It's doing its final things here, but as you begin to work with Unity in general, you know, it would be helpful to try to short directory paths that are on your computer if possible. Yeah, you get a whole different experience now. Yeah, so okay. Okay, so the video was paused, but we're back now. So I've finished creating my high definition render pipeline project, a basic sort of a shell. And so you should see something like this. Is this what you guys have on your screen at this point? No? You're still waiting for it to load? Okay. What I'm going to do next is install the ArcGIS SDK plugin. If you want to go ahead and do that, if you remember how to do that, you can go ahead. I'll just wait another few seconds here to so people don't get left behind. Yep. So again, just we had a conversation offline about make sure to use the right drive that won't slow you down. So I don't need this window open. And so to install the first thing we have to do is just get the ArcGIS SDK plugin loaded in. And to do that, I'm going to go like this. I'm going to go Window, Package Manager. And then in the upper left here, I've got this kind of plus drop down, Add Package from Tarball. So I'll just hold that there for a second so you see what I clicked on. So I went to Window, Package Manager, Add Package from Tarball. Okay. And then once I do that, I'll click on that one. And then I'm going to go to the things. Again, I gave you the things to the thing that you needed. So mine, in this case, is in C, Temp, Class 9B Materials, and then it's the ArcGIS Maps SDK Unity 1.0, about a 400 megabyte thing here. So I'm going to open that. And this is going to take, usually it takes about a minute on my machine. So you don't really see much happening, but if you look right about here, adding a new package, and you see there's like a little wheel spinning around, that gives you some kind of visual feedback that something's happening. So just kind of sit tight. If you got a coffee when creating the project, this is maybe go get a snack or no, that wasn't too bad. But things do happen. Okay, great. So now you can tell that it worked correctly. You'll see a menu up here. Now, before you leave here, though, you want to go over here to Samples, All Samples Import. And we'll need some of the things I believe that come from there in terms of cameras and so forth. So make sure right after you install it, do Samples Import. And down, if you look down in your project window as it's kind of loading everything in here, you'll see assets, samples, ArcGIS Maps SDK, and so forth. Okay. So that's it. So now we have the plugin installed, and we can draw upon the different libraries and so forth that come with the plugin. So I'm going to close the package manager. And again, I have a menu up here. Now, I didn't have it in the slides, but we're not going to use this today. But just as a quick reminder, last time we used this plugin, we used this thing, what do they call it? The map creator. And this can be helpful for giving you a GUI, a graphical interface, to put things in to create a map scene. But what we're going to do different today is we're going to create a map scene all in code. And so that's where we're going to start to use what we have here to guide us, okay? And I figured that would be a more robust way to start showing you how to build things in Unity using geospatial data. And so prerequisites, we've done pretty much everything. I have an API key for you. We've created a new project, and we'll start following these steps. So the first thing we want to do is just create a new scene. So to do that, we're going to go to File, New Scene, and we want a basic outdoors scene. This is what we did last time, if you were here for that. So I'm going to create a basic outdoor scene, and I'm going to call it Flood Scene 9B. So why I called it that, because we're going to sort of show what flooding looks like on Lake Ontario with those houses, and this is just for class 9B. You can really call it whatever you want, but that's just the name I'm going to use. So I'm going to save that. Okay, and so you can see now the new scene is here, and we're going to move along. So we just did that part. Okay, so now we're going to get kind of the more fun sort of, if you like, coding aspect of it. We're going to create a script. So the whole thing is going to be driven by a script. And that's a pretty fundamental part of Unity, especially for those of you that have taken classes, previous classes in this. These C# scripts code really can drive the interface, can drive the whole game. And it's just the same way here with this particular SDK that we're working with. So we're going to follow these steps. Assets. Now, before you do that, though, when I was prepping, just to be a little careful when you go ahead and create it, I'm going to first select this folder here, my project folder. And when I create that script, that's where it's going to get stored. So you can really put it, I think, anywhere you want, but I'm putting it in with my project folder. So with that, I'm going to click Assets, Create a C# script. Okay, so I'll just hold that there for a second so you see what I clicked. So I went to the top menu, I clicked Assets, Create, and then C# script. And then I haven't clicked it yet, so now I'll click it. And you can see now, by default, under here in the middle, Assets, down kind of where my mouse is, you can see like the sharp icon for a C# script. It gives it a default name of new behavior. I'm going to rename it to flood scene. Okay. Okay, and you can see now when I do that in the inspector window here on the right, we see sort of the code that's in that. It's kind of just the stub of a scene, all right? So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into an editor and start to add code to really write out the whole entire map to basically get us to this kind of end goal. You know, this is what it should look like if everything goes according to plan, but it's all going to happen in code, okay? So to do that, this is what I don't know how it'll happen on your machines. I'm going to go on that flood scene C# and just double click on it. Now, in my case, it opens in Visual Studio Code. What happens out there for you guys? It goes to Visual Studio Code?
That's the default for the settings. You can change it if you want to do it in Visual Studio proper, but...
Okay. That's what I didn't know, because, yeah. So, again, if you're watching this video, there's a default setting that code files will open in Visual Studio Code, but you probably could change it to whatever you wanted, really. Like, I thought it was going to open in proper Visual Studio, which is the bigger thing.
You have to, like, the way it works is in the, like, preferences
Yeah.
for the project.
Yeah.
You have to specify which.
Gotcha. Right.
And if you don't, and it just sees the .cs
Yeah.
file type, it goes to VS Code.
Okay. Yeah, so if you didn't hear that, it's a kind of a side comment, but you can change the preferences for what code editor you use. And I'm guessing my hunch is that it's whatever, if there's nothing specified, it's probably whatever the Windows system file extension picks up on that, like a text file opens in Notepad. But you know what, though? I'm happy it's Visual Studio Code because that's what we've been using all semester, and it's perfectly adequate for what we want to do. So again, what we're going to do is now we're going to use Visual Studio Code to put code in to make things happen inside of the game. And I did get it to work yesterday when I was prepping. And there were some things I thought you guys could maybe look into. So this is where we're really just going to follow that tutorial now. So we have to add a bunch of namespaces, which we have never talked about C# in this class. I'm guessing is this a namespace kind of similar to like an import statement in Python?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically just that's instead of the word import,
Right.
it's the word use.
Right. So a lot of programming languages, even if we're doing a hack of C#. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to highlight, and I liked actually how Esri did this tutorial. Like if you look at this, using Unity Engine, using system, using Unity Engine, using, well, it's not exactly the same, but what they're doing in this tutorial, add line, they're telling you to, basically, what does this thing do? Oh, that's cool. Basically highlight those things that are highlighted in green, right? I'm going to Control-C copy. I'm going to go back over into the code world here. I'm going to paste it into there like that. Okay? So those are basically, if you're watching this video and you're used to things like Python, what we've been doing, import, it's the same idea. They call them namespaces, but we're telling it we want to use things from the ArcGIS Maps SDK, game engine, and so forth. Now, I don't really honestly know all the details of all these things. It's documented in this SDK, so if you really want to learn more about it, take a look at these web pages here. Okay. Now, this is kind of important too. This execute always allows the script to run both in editor and play mode. So we're going to grab this line now, and we're going to put that right there. Okay. Now, again, you guys in this class have never really seen the previous version, but that's actually pretty important. In the old version, the beta version of the SDK, you could not see your data in editor mode. It was really frustrating because like you wouldn't know what you were looking at until you fired the thing up, and it was really difficult to like do anything. So that was kind of important. Okay, so the API key. Now this is where you put in what I gave you. So what we're going to do is just do this. It says here under the main class in the code below. So I'm going to grab this line here. And in fact, you can just do this. You can just copy it. I'm going to put it, it says under the main class, so it's inside the class. Okay. And so what you can do here, if you want to go get your own API key, you're more than welcome to. But what you can do now is go to the class page and just grab, I purposely did not make it a URL. Take your mouse and just highlight from that first A, grab that whole big long thing there to the U, Control-C, back over here, and then it's a string, so just paste it inside the quotes. C# uses a lot of the standard program. That's why when I've done this, like I don't code in C#. I haven't really looked into that, but it's a lot of the same stuff, right? A string, something as basic as a string. So that's what I did there. Okay, we'll save that. Okay. So now what we're going to do is basically just create a bunch of functions that will render the map and display data layers. Again, it's basically in code the same thing that we did. Oh yeah, this is actually interesting too. Every time you make a change to it, your code file, Unity's kind of checking it. And if you start to run into problems, it'll tell you. You'll see stuff. So far, so good. We don't have any errors. But again, now in code, we're going to create the same thing that you do with this GUI, okay? And so let's dig into that. So first, we're going to add the ArcGIS map component and put it in local mode. Now, as I said, for our own learning, I always find when I find these like tutorials, this is a really great tutorial, but I like to like get my own mind around it. So just some small tweaks. We're not going to use New York City and all this stuff. We're going to use what we used last class, which was the sort of Lake Ontario, Rochester stuff. We first need to add some variables into that class. So we're going to copy these two lines here. So to create just the map component, and then here's a geographic coordinate with a point object, which we have seen that kind of thing in ArcPy and so forth. If you might remember in the ArcPy class with the CSV, we did a lot of this thing of creating point objects from latitude, longitude coordinates. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to go back over to my code. And it's telling us to put them in the main class. Okay. Now some little tweaks we're going to do here. Instead of using these numbers, we're going to use our own numbers. And probably even a better way to do this would be to put these as variables that can be used in multiple places. So if you want to do that, that's fine. I'm just going to hard code it for now. So I'm going to go grab this longitude here. This is again on the class web page. I'm going to scratch out this -74, all that stuff. I'm going to put that in instead. And I found when I was prepping this, I found a really shorter altitude worked a little better. So instead of 3,000, this is just basically creating a three-dimensional point, latitude, longitude, and then how far off the ground it is. I'm going to use 10. Now, you can go and tweak that, certainly, but that's just to get things started here. Okay, so we got that. So now we're going to put a big method in here where it first checks to see if a map component exists. And if it doesn't exist, it goes ahead and creates it. And it plugs in the origin and stuff that we just did in the previous code. So what we're going to do here, we have a whole new method. I'm just going to make it easy, I'm going to use the clipboard copy button. Go back to the code. And I'm going to go put it probably right about like, because I have my start and update methods that'll come. The start method will show up in just a few minutes. But I'm kind of right about here. I'm just going to paste that right on in there. And you can see, again, we're not really talking about C#, but just as a quick kind of diving into it, you're in the world of curly braces now. So if you've ever coded in like Java, I haven't coded in Java in years, but that was a big one with curly braces. If you've coded in JavaScript, that's the world of curly braces. Whereas in Python world, it's colon and indents. Now, if you want for your own learning, you could, here's something I was doing when I was prepping. I might grab this whole text right here, copy that with my mouse. Then to do a block comment, I might block comment what this is. So I could do / space star / That's this is a C# style block comment, and then I put all that stuff in here. Which, you might want that for your own comments. Okay. So again, it's going to look to see if a map component exists. If it doesn't exist, it's going to create a new one. And then it's giving it its origin, and that's back up here, right? Geographic coordinates. Geographic coordinates, it's referencing that variable. It's plugging it in. What do you think's going on with that right there that I just highlighted? Anybody? The map type is equal to Esri game engine map type local. What does that mean? We talked about it. Talked about it last class. Anybody remember? Crickets in the room? No one remembers? All right, so as this is kind of important for you guys to know this, like there's two different kinds of scenes. There's a local scene like we're doing. We're showing buildings, roads, as opposed to a global scene, which shows like a wider area. You might even call it a smaller scale. And so basically the way the software will render is based on that type of scene. So we're doing the local scene, and that's we're telling it to make a local map scene, okay? And that's what, you look that stuff up, okay? Okay, so now we're going to create the base map. So, by the way, too, here's a little tidbit to file away. When we get to JavaScript in another week, you're going to see a lot of the same kind of stuff. You create a general container for the map, then you plug in some kind of base map, and then you add layers onto that map. So in the world here, today we're on ArcGIS Maps SDK. When we get to the JavaScript, you're going to see a lot of the same general process, even if the code and implementation is different. Okay, so we create an ArcGIS map, and it'll put it in the container. So we're going to copy this method. And we just put that kind of in there like that. Create ArcGIS map. And now we'll plug in a base map. And this is where we will use the API key. So what we're just going to do here is we're just going to add this one line. We just pasted that in. We're going to add this one line. That's kind of where this green is. So what you want to do here is just grab this and put it inside of the create ArcGIS map method. Okay, so there's the API key, which is the variable that we did that's public inside the class. We can grab it from there. And you need that to create the imagery base map. And the imagery base map, just as a refresher, in this picture, it's kind of these things over here. This that's not really working. This stuff over here. And you might remember when we did this last week, we saw a basic just image in the background. Okay, so I'll save that. We'll keep on just plugging away here. Next, the elevation. And we'll just add we'll add this one, the elevation. And this will make sure that things are grounded. And this is something I personally would be interested in going after, is learning how to replace something like the default Esri elevation with my own elevation. I don't know if you guys remember, we used a DEM on class on Tuesday. I'm going to copy that and paste that in there, and that's going to go okay. So again, all these things happen with URLs, right? Here's a URL to an image elevation source. Okay, so all of this is, we're got a base map, the elevation, it's all in the create the map method. We'll save that. Okay, so the data layers. Now this is where we're going to deviate a little bit from the tutorial. We're going to use our own things. I don't want to just, because I want to show you guys as best I can how you can create your own things for your own games and start to go beyond just, to try to understand these things in your own mindset, as opposed to just copying what's in the tutorial. So we're going to add an image tile layer and a 3D object scene layer. And that's what these things are that I gave you here. Okay, let's get the code in, and then we'll just talk about what's going on here. Okay, so in that same method, we're going to add two things. So first, we're going to do an image layer. So what I'm going to do is copy this line of code here, this var layer 1. I'm going to copy that, and that's going to go inside of the create ArcGIS map method that we've been kind of adding stuff to. And I might even put like some comments, like okay. Again, you'll see the same kind of thing in JavaScript. It's going to be a very similar thing. So Esri game engine layers and ArcGIS image layer. What the heck is that? What that is in this case, now what I want you to do is go to this one, the image tile, grab this URL, do a copy on that, and then go in and replace what they've given you with the code. Okay, and save that. And then let's take a look at that URL. I don't know if we'll actually see anything. Yeah. So what this is, I didn't have time to really talk about this last time in class, but what you can do with images, like if I were just to open that URL and just click this ArcGIS JavaScript API just to look at it, this is that I don't know if you guys remember this last class. I gave you the tax parcels. I gave you this image. So what I did, you can take images and publish them up as what are called image tiles. And what that is similar to, if I were to use a tool like Google Maps, watch when I zoom out of Google Maps really fast. Notice how it takes a few seconds for it to draw, and notice how there's little squares. Right? You see the little, until it gets cached in the browser. Right? Those are what are called image tiles. That's how Google Maps works so well. You can be like looking at the whole at a global level, and you could zoom right into a local level, like some little random town in South America, and it's all there like instantly, because Google's just is masters at image tiles, where everything, look at this crazy level of detail I can get with just a mouse wheel zoom, right? Because so all of that are stored as image tiles. And so you have the ability with ArcGIS Online to do the same kind of thing. And you put those out as an image tile service, and that's what this is. Mine is a very poor comparison to Google Maps, but the concept is still the same. You can have different levels of areas of detail, and it's its own kind of big topic. So I'm plugging in my own image into my game environment for my own data, and that's what we just did here. So it's an ArcGIS image layer, and then I made it a URL to get it, just like they did here, except they had their own thing. Urban observatories in New York City. Okay. Any questions on that about a tile layer? Just what it is? No? All right. So let's just move on then. So we're not going to do two other image ones, but what we are going to do is a 3D object scene layer, and we can actually borrow a lot of their code. And so what I'm going to do now is those are the buildings we did last week. Okay. So let's just get the code in, then we'll talk about it. I'm going to grab that layer there, var building layer. Paste that in there. Now, instead of using their building layer, I'm going to use my building layer. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to grab this URL right here. I'm going to replace that string there from the tutorial with my string. Okay, I'm going to save it, and let's look at what that URL is. Whoa, what's that? Doesn't really look like much. But what I want to look at is this. I'm just gonna look at RIT's ArcGIS Online. So as a reminder, if you want to plug in what you did last class, you can do the same thing. If I go to my ArcGIS Online, my content, here is my scene layer that we created in class last week. So you might remember we brought polygons into ArcGIS Pro, we extruded them, we converted them to a multi-patch, we published them, and then they're now available. So as another reminder, that's what all this, I have the slides. This is what we did last class, was all this, okay? To get it to here. So today we're bringing it over into Unity. So what you could do if you want to see if your stuff works, go to your scene layer, click on the link there, go down to the bottom, grab the URL, you can even copy it, and then go back over to your code. I'll just put mine as a comment and put it in there to see if it works. Now I gave you my URL just in case yours didn't work or you didn't pay, it didn't work, whatever, you weren't here, just to make sure something works. But I would encourage you, if you got it to work last class, plug it in instead of the one that I'm giving you, right? But there's, now another little thing too, make sure that you have on share, at least for now, just make it public. We're not getting into like sensitive data that people wouldn't want to see just for what we're doing in class. Because if you do, I've just found, at least in the last year, if it's not public, it won't show up and it's a real pain. So again, so on my thing, I hit share, I clicked public, and then I go down here and grab the URL, and I put that URL in as the argument to the 3D object scene layer. Okay. Any questions on that? Just trying to show you guys how these different pieces of things all kind of start to tie together too. All right, fair enough then, we'll move on. So we're pretty much almost done here too. So now we set the map extent. You might remember last time around we, or at least last week, we showed them the map was kind of circular. And so this code, as it says, will create a circle based on the extent parameters attached to the clipping area. And let's see, this is going to go. Yeah. This goes into the same method. So I'm gonna use the clipboard here, copy that, and it's gonna go into that create map method, create ArcGIS map method. So there's a lot kind of to get the whole thing started happens in this code. And if you decide you want to try to use this to build something, there may be other things in this kind of startup that you might want to do. But I copied that code, and this is where I'm gonna change it around just a little bit. That's the tutorial code. And again, now that's what I'm saying, you know, we're using these, we're hard coding it, but probably a better way to do this would have put these coordinates in some kind of variable and just plug them in. But it's okay to hard code for today, but longer term you wouldn't. So again, I'm going to grab the things from here. Absolutely. You can do, yes, if you guys have better ways of doing it. I'm just really sticking close to how the tutorial is, but absolutely. The only thing I did too that I didn't seem to figure out how to do, instead of making it like 100,000, I tried just like 1,000, just a little bit of a tweak. Okay. So we define sort of another point, a point object in geographical space. Oh, and that should be negative 77. And then we define a circle object whose center is that point. It should have a radius of 1,000. Then the map should be clipped. So think of like a cookie cutter coming down and saying, we only want to see this 1,000 unit circle at that origin point. And that should change the shape of things. We'll see though, because mine was weird when I did it. Okay, so we got that in. Oop. And so the map component view is going to get the map. Again, very similar to how they do it in JavaScript. They create a view container. The view container then gets a map. So I copy that. Save that, and we're on. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and create the camera. So remember, the camera is important for actually looking at the whole thing. So we're going to create a camera component variable used by the class. I'm going to copy that, the ArcGIS camera component. I'm going to go back up to up here in the beginning of the class. Okay, so put that in there. So here's a method now similar to the container. It's going to look to see if a camera exists, and if it doesn't, it'll let's see. Yeah, if the camera and a location component are not there, it'll create them. And it kind of takes over the main camera. We saw that last time. So in your scene, the outdoor scene, you get this main camera. So what ArcGIS API will do is sort of take over the main camera to use this kind of a special camera for looking at the map data. And that's what this method does here. So here's a big method that I'm gonna use the copy. And I'm going to put it as its own method inside the class. So paste that on in there. Okay. Where it's going to get a camera component, see if it exists. If it doesn't, it's going to sort of add it to the scene and take over the camera that's there with some rotation values and so forth. Okay. Yeah, so you can set the camera position using ArcGIS point. Let's see. So if you want to change the rotation, right? If you look at the camera, I believe if I just click on the main camera, you get rotation values in a camera, if I see that. So you can set those in the script. That's what's happening here. And they're, what did they write? Negative, 55, 58, 0. They've already did that. But this is where you would change the rotation, right? The way the camera sort of is looking on the scene when it runs. Okay. Okay. Now, we're pretty much, that's it. So let's so we got to attach this script and then get it to kind of start up. So when I was prepping this, I found that there was one thing that we comment out because we don't need to do all the other stuff. So what you should do now is sort of like the start method. Some other languages have like a main method. Like remember we talked about in Python, like the main def. Do you guys still take classes in Java? Is that still a class they offer here? What's the classic method startup in Java? Public, void, main, args, or something like that?
Also,
yeah.
This is Unity.
Yeah, okay, so this is, but it's same idea? Start?
Kind of, except main is calling start.
Okay, main is calling start. Okay.
Start is like when you first hit play.
Okay.
Unity scene,
Okay.
it runs the start method, and
Okay.
Just
All right.
You only call that once, and then every frame after that you call updating.
Okay.
Probably closer to what you
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for explaining that to me. So this sort of is, so what I've learned just now is that the start method that we got from that shell of a C# scene class kind of is when the game fires up. This is the code that's going to run. So we're going to copy those lines there. We're going to go back down into start. And the only thing I'm going to comment out, or I mean, I don't, if you want to follow, I'm just going to comment that one out because we're not going to do the create sky component. It's not necessary to what that comes later in the tutorial. But okay, so we did that. So that's the start method that'll call all those different methods, right? We'll create the map component, the camera, the actual map itself. Now we have to attach it to an empty game object or a camera game object that has a main camera tag in the hierarchy window. That's what I did when I was doing this. Okay. So what I'm going to do here now for these instructions, I'm going to go back over, I'm going to save this, go back over to Unity. Okay. I'm going to go, if you're not already clicked on it, I'm going to go to main camera. Then I'm going to do add component. Okay. So I clicked on main camera, then over in the inspector window, add component. And then looks like I have a space in it, but okay, flood scene, the name of the script we just were using. Okay. Okay, if everything goes according to plan, then when I did that, you can see the script kind of ran. It created the container, it put the map in, and it kind of changes a little bit. I'll save my project. And did you guys get that to work? Did you get any like text, red or yellow text barfing up on the bottom left? Yeah, what does it say? Okay, yeah. So if you get that, go back to your code and just comment out the create sky component, or just delete it out. We're not going to add. That's if you watch the whole read the whole tutorial, it goes into these things about sky components that we don't need to worry about. So just comment that out. But everybody else, okay? Now, according to the tutorial, you should start to see stuff happening. I did not. So I found that I had to continue with just adjusting some things. So let's adjust the sun. So we're going to go to the hierarchy. We're going to fix the way the sun shines here. And inspector window, set the rotation to 36, 110, 85. And the intensity to 10,000. Okay. So it should look kind of like that. And I found this is actually what really helped to finally start to see things. So we're going to adjust the sky and fog volume. I think, at least the way that I understand it, it's basically it's like pollution, like it's too foggy out. So adjust the sky and fog volume. So I'm going to go to sky and fog volume here. Then under profile, click on this one. And then select sky and fog settings sample scenes profile. And yeah, let's fire the game up and let's see if we get something here. So with that, it should start to work now. It should be displaying, but I found... Oh, did I just crash? Okay, so I paused the video recording. I had a crash here, but I think everything's still in place. Let me try it again. Oh, okay. Yep, yep. Okay, so I'm in this weird world now of the camera being it's there. It is working. It's just not working well. So what did we hear? We need to change the camera.
Well, you could just use the controls that go up, and then you look down.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Probably just set the camera through code, just when it starts to just put its Y position a little higher.
Okay.
The elevation, or on the ArcGIS, the point, the geographic point.
Yeah.
That we created at the beginning, the elevation, I believe that is 10.
Yeah.
And that's why it's under.
Okay.
It's under, like, elevated, uses like real world elevation.
Right.
Not elevation.
Okay, good feedback. Okay, so what we just learned was if you've been watching this or reading the tutorial, so first off, it's working. All right, let's just make sure, I'm happy. I mean, I had a crash. So I've got it working though. I've got my own data with my own image, and it's all happening through a code script. I still don't know why the extent is not a circle, but I'm happy that it's just working. And so when we stopped it, what we heard was, first off, we should be seeing it in the thing as well. And I don't know why we don't. But is it the fog?
And I think it's also still above you.
Oh, it's the camera position?
Like if you look up in the editor as well, it might also be there.
Oh, okay. So now I'm in the preview mode, and we need to fix the way the camera was. Now, this wasn't my plan, but it's actually what you would call the teachable moment, right? So how do I fix that? The whole thing was about code. So if we go back into our code points, where was it? Probably right about here. I just said 10. I'm going to try 1,000. Try 1,000 there. And also for that camera, and also the map itself. I want to make that 1,000. Save that. And let's see if we even see a real-time update in what I see here. Am I too far up? Too far down? What did you guys? Did somebody use a different value? Thousand's too high. Okay.
I use like
300. Okay. Well, you know what? It's all good. Like, just play around with it. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. So let's try 300. Oh, see, I don't understand. So now when I'm in preview mode, here it all is. Right? So maybe 1,000's too high. But you know what? Again, teachable moment. Play around with it. Try different values and see see what happens. And that's why code. If you're going to start to build more robust game experiences, you're going to want to do it in code because there could be other things you have going on with your thing that you don't want to deal with that. So I changed it there. Okay, so you can see when I made a change in the code, it kind of changed the preview. I fire it up. Yeah, see, I had inconsistent results, but
You might just have to do it on the inspector. Starting at 9:15 looks like a 10.
okay,
So I like the on the camera object
okay.
point.
Let's see.
On the inspector.
Yeah, so see, notice too, by the way, how when the game ends, it leaves it off kind of where I was. But we're hearing from one of the students, so I'm going to go to the camera, and then what did you change here?
So if you scroll down,
Mm-hmm.
please find the ArcGIS point.
Location.
Location.
Uh huh. Oh, interesting.
For some reason, I just keep going back.
Yeah. Okay. This is all good. You know what? This is all good knowledge based stuff, right? So what I did was, even though the ArcGIS location, I changed it in the code. I thought I did. I'm going to change it here to an altitude of 300. Oh, look at that. Oh, you even said update in the camera preview. Oh, look at that. So what, 10 was what we had before. Thousands way out in space. 300 seemed about good. Yeah, you had a comment?
You could probably do something like in start, like if you put it in start, it should some value that changes it to 300, whatever it should. That might be able to fix things.
Okay, cool. So great, guys. Thanks for the feedback, and this is a good. This will all be good for the knowledge base, like I said. So we instead of the script, I changed it there. Although will it go and change the script then?
The inspector overrides the script.
So inspector's going to go in, modify my script file.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
does.
yes, no.
When you like define a variable at the top,
Uh-huh.
it'll like pre-populate the inspector, but then anything that's in the inspector will take priority over anything else.
But it won't physically, it won't physically edit the script itself.
Right. Yeah.
The script file. So.
Okay. All right. Cool. Yeah. So we modified that there. Now when I play it, oh yeah, look at that, much better. Thanks, guys. So just by changing that altitude a little bit, now I've got a more reasonable position instead of like, where the heck am I? But there it is. I mean, it's, that's our own data. And someday we'll learn about collision and mesh colliders, I think they're called. Now how I get lost in my little world here. There it is. Cool. Okay, so we're almost out of time for class. Did anybody else have any questions or issues that we wanted to get on the screen recording? Yeah.
There wasn't a problem with getting to this point, but
Yeah.
I noticed that many of these buildings seem to have merged into a single game object.
Oh, okay. That I don't know how to answer that question. I think that's just we'd have to look further into the API documentation on that. So just for my own learning too. So you're saying when I click, oh, I see. When you click on them, they're all like one massive thing.
Not all of them, but like with that one there, two of them have been merged into one.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. That's a great observation, and I don't know the answer what to tell you about that. In fact, when I do something like that, will it change it? Yeah, because it seems like I just I modified it and it didn't really do anything.
Generated by your code, right? So it would be relevant.
Right. Well, it's a data source coming over the web. So who knows what it's actually doing? It might, my hunch, without any evidence, you give it that URL, it's maybe caching those things as game objects, but then when the code fires, it's maybe going back to the source. I don't know. That's something to look into. But again, you guys probably can't appreciate this, but it used to be you couldn't even get that. You couldn't get anything in the design. You just had to fire it up. So so where we're going with this next is I want to do more than with code, looking at these game objects and what can we do with them in terms of interacting with them and so forth. You might remember that guest speaker, Emily, from a couple weeks ago when I was out. They started using code to like get at the data that was coming in to then have that drive the game experience based on attributes. That's kind of what I want do with this next. So we'll use code to do that. So, any other things you want? Any questions? Just to have it on record here. Yeah.
The extent is actually broken in code. You have to use the map creator UI to do it.
Oh, is that a known issue?
Yeah, it's linked to somewhere on the website that says you have to do it.
Oh, okay. Thanks for the update. So apparently, in my questions I had about extent, this doesn't work in code. Oh, you're saying? Okay. So can I actually go in here and do it?
Yeah, go there and then
Oh, interesting. So this is good for me. I didn't really try this. So all the stuff from your code is being piped into the map creator. And as I just learned from a student, oh, look at this, enable map extent. Is that what we had to do?
you have to do that, and you have to fill it all out.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, that's too much work. I just wrote all the code to do that. All right. Well, so yeah. So the code version doesn't work. It's a known issue. So if I just put that in there, oh, but it does update, sort of. So cool. Well, thanks for showing me that. Let's see if it works. Oh, I put this. Whoops. I know why that's not going to work. This should be chaos, actually. Let's see what happens. I mean, on some level, I don't want to have to use this thing, but if... Oh, yeah, look at that. Yeah, good call. Yep. So there we go. That answers that problem. You can't do the extent in code. I had to use the map creator to actually do that little part of it. Now I see a proper sort of 1,000-unit circle. And that can be helpful, really, if you need, games have extents. You can't just, I haven't played Call of Duty in years, but you can't just walk infinitely in the Call of Duty world, right? And it will have an end to it. So this can be helpful. So thanks for that tip on that. Hi, this is Brian Tomaszewski. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, and share this video. Also, please consider subscribing to this channel and clicking the notification icon to stay up to date on new videos from this channel. Thanks for watching.